What are we talking about today? Yeah.
Oh, hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What Are We Talking About podcast. Oh, it's kind of hot. I'm going to have to take this bad boy off. But, yeah, so welcome to another episode. We are clearly in a vehicle. What? This isn't my car. Oh, no, that's right. This is the truck. So today we got a few things to talk about. One of the things we're going to talk about is some news involving the new Wolverine movie that's coming out. We got some news involving Pokémon Sun and Moon. Talk about the box office results for Civil War. And our new young Han Solo. I'll talk a little bit about that. But first, over the weekend, and probably I'll be doing it again this weekend, but over this past weekend, I went out to, what's it called? Allstones Creek. So there's Allstones Creek, but then there's also Allstones Lake. We went up to Allstones Lake, and it's a hike out, I think it's on the Alberta side of the border. Yeah, it's on the Alberta side of the border. Out just kind of like in the Rocky Mountains, west of Nordegg, kind of by Lake Athabasca there. It was a really good hike. It only took us about probably 5.5, 6 hours. And it was really nice. It was good. Like, it was pretty hot. I got kind of sunburned, but overall I had a really good time, and I really recommend, if you're in the area looking for something to do, go. It's a really good hike, and it doesn't take that long. Like, we went to Coliseum Mountain before that, and it was an extra at least 3 hours, probably more, just for the simple fact of Coliseum Mountain. It's not as high, but there's more places to see. Like, you can climb up the one side, walk across the ridge, go to the other peak. Like, there's just more to do at Coliseum, whereas at Allstones it was more straightforward. You'd walk up the path, get to the lake, and then we went kind of off path, blazed our own trail, got to the peak, took a couple pics, a little bit of video footage, and then, yeah, headed back down. But we came back down a different way, cut off a little bit of time. We wouldn't have been able to go up the way we came down, I know that for sure. But yeah, I think we're going to go again this weekend, but I'm not sure where. But what I'm going to start doing is, which I took a little bit of footage from the peak at Allstones, but now I think I'm going to start getting some footage throughout the entire hike, all the way up to and including the peak and the way back down, and just do some edits together, some stuff, and get some like montages of the hikes. I don't know if any of you guys would be interested in that, but I don't know whether or not that'll be on this channel or if I'll put it on another channel. But yeah, I'm gonna start putting out some of those videos, so if that's something you're into, look forward to that. But anyways, let's talk about the first thing. It's a little bit older news now. In fact, I don't remember if this news was already out when we did the last podcast or not. I don't think so, though. No, I think it came out on Thursday. I don't remember. But anyways, we know who our new Han Solo is going to be. The young Han Solo in the new Lawrence Kasdan written, well, I guess it's also Jake Kasdan is writing, his son. And then it's directed by Lord and Miller, who did the Jump Street franchise and the Lego movie, and they also did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, I think only just #1, which, it's actually a pretty good movie. It's not the greatest animated movie ever, but it's definitely watchable, and like, it's funny. Whereas Lego Movie is one of the best animated movies ever, and the Jump Street franchise is just amazing, I think. Like, it's rare to find a comedy sequel that's better than the original, and 22 Jump Street is that sequel, for me at least. So yeah, I don't know much about this guy. Aaron Ehrenreich is his name. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but he was in Hail Caesar, which I didn't get a chance to see. I was looking forward to it quite a bit, but then the reviews just were not good at all for the movie, so it made me not want to go see it. Maybe I'll check it out Whether if it comes on Netflix, I'll watch it because I already pay for Netflix, so it's basically free now. Like, I'm already paying for it, so if it comes on there, I can watch it for free, like for no extra charge or whatever. But yeah, I don't know much about him, but everything that I've heard about Hail Caesar is that this guy was the best part of the movie. So that's a good thing. I don't know, like I said, I don't know much about him, but from the pictures I've seen and stuff, he looks enough like Han Solo, and as long as he's a good enough actor and can capture the essence that is Han Solo, I'm not too worried, because like Disney, it's Disney. Disney has been doing an incredible job with Star Wars. I mean, not everyone loved Star Wars Episode 7. I quite enjoyed it. It's, now that I've got some distance from the movie itself, I feel fine saying it's not as good as any of the original trilogy, in my opinion. But it's, I think I like it better than Episode 3, and I like Episode 3. I really don't like Episode 2, and I don't mind Episode 1. But Episode 3 is one that I actually do enjoy quite a bit. I know it has a lot of problems, but I like Episode 7 more than Episode 3. And it's close up there with, the thing is, with the original trilogy, it's another level. And after Episode 8 and 9 come out, it might retroactively make Episode 7 better. Which, that's something the Winter Soldier did for me for the first Avenger. I used to hate the first Avenger. Now I can watch it and love it because the Winter Soldier did such an incredible job of making me care about this character, Captain America. And so, if Episode 8 does a good enough job with Snoke and some of the other characters, whether it be Captain Phasma or Luke, some of the characters that we didn't necessarily get as much as I would have liked necessarily I mean, Luke, that's exactly what I expected, the amount of Luke that we saw. I kind of thought maybe we'd get at least one line, but I'm not surprised with Luke. Captain Phasma, I'm extremely surprised with the amount that we saw of her. She was only in, I think, 3 scenes in the whole movie. I guess 4 scenes in the whole movie, and she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything to make her a badass. Like, she was the Boba Fett of this movie. I'm sure lots of you have already heard that before, but yeah. Basically, Captain Phasma, I think, was underused. Snoke, he's just still mysterious. We don't know about him, and I'm worried for what, like, I don't know what Snoke's gonna be, but they need to explain the hell out of it. If he's not Darth Plagueis, if he's just some dude, they gotta explain the hell out of that shit. Where the fuck was he? And if he was around, why the fuck did we not hear about him? I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical when it comes to Snoke, because the more that time goes on, I'm less and less convinced. After I saw the movie, I was more convinced that he was, what's his name? Plagueis. But now I'm less convinced, just simply for the fact of, well, first of all, what's his name? Why can I not remember? Holocron Keeper on Twitter there. I can't remember his name. But he's the head of Star Wars Story Group. And I just had the name and I lost it. He, like, if people are tweeting different theories and stuff, and if they're completely wrong, he'll tell you, like, there's no way Snoke is Jar Jar Binks and stuff like that. And one thing that he did say in the or on Twitter was, somebody asked, I think they asked, is Snoke Plagueis? And he said Plagueis was killed by his apprentice, or something to that effect. Basically, he said, the way that he said it, it was not new information. It was like the line directly out of Episode 3. So it's kind of like maybe he did that on purpose, and he's trying to trick people. I don't know. But in the past, he's always, if he shoots it down, that means that it's not real. So I don't know whether or not he was just being facetious or just trying to hide the fact that he actually is Plagueis, I don't know. I would like it more, I think, if he was. Like, it would just be a really cool addition, both to Legends with the Plagueis novel and a nod back to episode 3. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I kind of would feel cheated if it's just, this is some other evil big bad guy, and now, like, I don't know. I want there to be some history, and what, like, Plagueis is the perfect person for Snoke to be, for the simple fact that they have been unknowingly setting this up, right? Especially with the whole the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. It makes it so that they've at least talked about this character before, and now when they bring him out, you could be like, oh, I thought Snoke was dead. Oh wait, he could cheat death. Like, there's ways that you can say. But if Snoke is just some dude, why did the Emperor not know about him? Why did Yoda not know about him? I don't know. Like, there's just so many more questions that will bring up. Like, I think that Lucasfilm and the Star Wars Story Group will have. That'll be the toughest thing. If Snoke is not Plagueis, that'll be the toughest thing that they have to face in Episode 8. But I don't know. Personally, for me, I trust Lucasfilm, I trust Disney, and I especially trust Chris Lord and Phil Miller, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, or whatever their names are, Chris and Phil Lord and Miller. I trust them. So I'm a little scared because I don't want them to ruin Han Solo. But I don't care to see any, like, we don't need more prequels. Like, we don't need a young Han Solo movie, or any young Boba Fett movie, and a young Yoda movie, and all just young versions of all the characters we already know and love. Because we had a young Anakin Skywalker trilogy, and it kind of did a lot to ruin the character of Anakin Skywalker. So that's just my skepticism. But who knows? This could come out and it's the best Star Wars movie we've ever seen. I don't know. I feel like it'll be the lightest in tone Star Wars movie that we will have had. Like, it'll be almost comedic, especially with Lord and Miller at the helm. I feel like it'll be almost like not a straight up comedy. It won't be 21 Jump Street, but I feel like it'll definitely be funny. It'll be a really, really funny movie. Like, Episode 7 had quite a bit of laughs, for me at least, when I went and saw it. Like, everybody was laughing at a bunch of parts, and it almost felt out of place. Like, it was a little, like, Finn's character almost feels like he's being too jokey. In that, like, he almost feels out of universe. Like, he doesn't feel like a part of the Star Wars universe, in the sense that, droid please line, and when he's like, why do you gotta go back to Jakku? You got family? You got a boyfriend? Cute boyfriend? Like, just some of the lines, I thought they were funny. And I like the character of Finn, but I don't know, it just felt almost a little bit out of place with the rest of the movie. But I feel like Lord and Miller will be able to deliver a funny Han Solo movie, because Han Solo is a funny character. That's not how the Force works. Han Solo is a funny character, so I feel like they'll be able to deliver a funny Han Solo movie while still making it have stakes and still being a serious movie, and it fit the overall universe tone that we've come to know of everything, whether it be from Rebels, Clone Wars, even the novels, and the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and this new trilogy. They all, and even Rogue One, like, they still all feel part of the same universe. And if you look at the Marvel films, they've done it in such a way where they all feel like they're part of the same universe, besides Iron Man 3. But they also are their own movies. Like, Ant-Man feels very different from Captain America, The Winter Soldier, which even feels fairly different from Captain America Civil War and Captain America The First Avenger, which they're totally different from Iron Man and totally different from Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, each Marvel film is very different from the other ones in tones. Like, Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 were very similar. Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 were very similar in tone. But even that, there's variation, right? And I think Star Wars is, what they're doing is a similar thing. They're both owned by Disney, so it makes sense. But they want to create this universe of films that feel like they're in the same universe, but they still have individuality to each film, especially with the spin-offs. And I think they're so far so good with Star Wars Episode 7 felt like Star Wars. Rogue One looks and feels like Star Wars, but Rogue One also feels different. It feels a lot darker, grittier, and more real, less fantasy, more like sci-fi war film, right? And I think that's a good thing. I think they need to be able to change it up, because that's what keeps these genres from being stagnant. If that's the problem, that like when people say superhero fatigue or anything like that, or if they're worried about Star Wars fatigue with too many of these movies, the only way that will happen is if all the movies are the same, right? Like if every Marvel movie felt like the same movies, and in a lot of ways they are very, very similar because they're all in the same universe, but they're different. And if it weren't for that, I feel like already we would be at that stage. Marvel would have died out. But because X-Men does a thing where they don't put out a movie every year. They only put out a movie once every like 2 years. Every 3 years. So it's less fatiguing of a thing. Like even if they put out the same movie every time, or something that feels very similar, you're less likely to be fatigued by it because it came out 2 years later. Whereas with the Marvel movies, there's 2 years. So if every Marvel movie felt the same, you'd be tired of them after the first year. But that's not been the case, and hopefully they will do the same thing with Star Wars. That's what the thing I'm most looking forward to is this. It's how every Star Wars movie is going to be something different, and I feel like the Han Solo movie is going to be the closest to being a comedy out of the Star Wars universe. That's just my opinion, but I'd like to know what your guys' opinion. What do you think of this casting of Aaron Ehrenreich, or however you pronounce his name, as young Han Solo? Do you even want to see a young Han Solo movie? For me, the only prequel character movie that I want to see is Obi-Wan on Tatooine facing off against Darth Maul for the final time. That I think would be just so amazingly epic, starring Ewan McGregor, of course. And they've been kind of tossing that around a little bit, playing with the idea, so who knows, maybe that will happen. But yeah, like, so I don't need this Han Solo movie, but of course I'm gonna go see it when it comes out. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys think. What spin-offs would you like to see from the Star Wars universe? Whether it's one that's already been announced or a new idea that you have, I'd love to know your thoughts. Civil War came out this past weekend. I went and saw it. I'll do a little bit of a spoiler review here at the end of the podcast. So people were predicting around 200 million initial release for the box office. It made about 181 million, I think, is the number. Maybe a little more, a little less. But the thing is, so there's some people talking about, did the fact that Batman v Superman got such bad reviews and stuff, did that add to the superhero fatigue and make it so that less people went out to see Captain America Civil War? I don't know. 181 million is a lot of money. It's like the 5th largest opening weekend of all time. And it's like the 3rd highest Marvel movie opening. And the only thing that beat it was Avengers. So, like, I think that yes, it's possible that if Batman v Superman was this amazing masterpiece of a film, if it was as good as Man of Steel, which I think was pretty much a masterpiece, and that's my opinion. I know lots of people have different opinions, but if Batman v Superman had been that good, I think it could have helped out the box office a little bit, because people would have went, wow, that was an amazing movie, watching two heroes that I normally love and would be on the same side, but now they're fighting against each other, but they did it in an incredibly good way. I want to see something else like this. Oh, look, Civil War comes out in a month and a half or 2 months. It has the same premise. Let's see that one. So in that aspect, it could have hurt it. And I think that, first of all, Batman v Superman shouldn't have been released when it was. It should have been released after some other DC movies to get the universe, like, so that there was an actual universe before they started making all this stuff. So in that way Civil War was better, but the problem is there's already been a lot of comic book movies this year, and Batman v Superman wasn't very well received, and it's possible that that causes some apprehension to going to see the next comic book movie. Like, the real telling sign will be X-Men Apocalypse. If it, like, just has a real shit, because the thing is, Captain America made more than BVS did in opening weekends. Like, Captain America's already made over $700 million worldwide. Like, it's not like it's not making money. But could it have made more money if Batman v Superman was good? I think so. But it's almost negligible, the amount that it would have made. Like, in an alternate universe, yes, Batman v Superman was amazing. And yes, Civil War made $200 million opening weekend. But who knows? Maybe it was the fact that it was Mother's Day weekend, and that lots of people were spending time with their families, not necessarily going to big superhero movies. I don't know. I don't know what the full reason was, but there could have been multiple factors, and Batman v Superman might have been one of them. But I think that it won't, like, next week, or this weekend, Captain America is gonna, like, easily, I think it'll make, like, $150 million again. Like, it'll, because lots of people that didn't go see it that first weekend will be like, oh, now it's in its second week, I can go see it. Then there'll be lots of repeat business. And also, lots of people who weren't going to go see it will have been convinced by their friends who did go see it. Because it is such a good movie and it is so well received, the word of mouth on it is really good, and it's making, and that will help more than anything to get more people in next weekend. And I think the second week is more important to look at. But I don't know, like, I don't know what, I personally don't have superhero fatigue, but I don't know, do you guys think that superhero fatigue is the reason why Batman, or why Civil War didn't quite make as much as people were predicting? Like, I'm not sure, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. So there's some news involving the new Wolverine sequel, which we still don't know what it's going to be titled. I'm hoping Old Man Logan, who knows. It's going to be rated R. So it started filming and it's going to be rated R, which I think they said it started filming. Yeah. And that, I think, personally, is an incredibly good decision. And I think it's partly based on the fact that Deadpool, a rated R movie, also by Fox, made so much money now, they're not worried that a rated R movie, like, that's the probably reason why The Wolverine, the second Wolverine movie, wasn't rated R. It should have been. Like, the unrated cut was quite a bit better than the original version when it gets closer to the end. Like, I like the original movie for most of the movie, but then it gets to the end and it starts going off the rails a little bit. And because the movie's so hardcore right before the end in the unrated version, it makes it a little bit better, where you're like, okay, I can forgive this dumb ending. Plus, it also helps that I had already seen the movie and knew what to expect. So, who knows if I have some bias there, but I think that Wolverine is one of those characters that almost needs an R rating. Like, he's got fucking, like, 18-inch swords coming out of his, like, hands. He can't fight people and not make it bloody. So if it's his own Wolverine movie, it should be hardcore. It should be rated R. But I can understand when he's in the X-Men movies, it's a more family-friendly movie. That's fine. PG-13, whatever. But in a Wolverine movie, you have to make it rated R to be true to the character. He's the best there is at what he does, and what he does is not very nice. It's definitely not PG. And I think that it's not PG-13. I think that it's perfect with a rating of R, and that's what they should do, and I'm glad that that's what they're doing. And I'm glad that Deadpool has opened the door for more rated R movies to come out, because especially comic book movies, rated R comic book movies have not classically done well at the box office until Deadpool. I mean, they've been well received critically, whatever. Blade is a classic comic book film. Watchmen, I think, is one of the greatest films ever made. I know it's a really big spot of controversy in terms of Some people don't like the variations from the original graphic novel. I personally am fine with them, and in some cases think that, like, I think the ending of Watchmen the movie is even better than the ending of Watchmen the graphic novel. But that's just my opinion, and it's fine if you think otherwise. But for me, oh wow, that's new. Basically, this is some incredibly exciting news. I'm so pumped to see a rated R Wolverine movie. Like, I hope Deadpool makes a cameo. It'd be perfect, especially now that it's rated R and he can do whatever the fuck he wants when he shows up. Yeah, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Wolverine needs to be rated R, or do you think that this is a good thing, bad thing? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But there's only one other... Oh, I guess there's a couple things. First thing I want to talk about, second to last thing, is the fact that there was some news released today. There was a couple trailers, Japanese and an American, for Pokémon Sun and Moon, which is the new... It's coming out November 18th. We found out the release date. It's the newest iteration of Pokemon that... Yeah, like, it's coming out this year. The last one was Pokemon X and Y, or, well, I guess Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But before that was X and Y. And so this is kind of the next generation, right? We found out about both the legendaries for the game, and we found out about the starter Pokemon. So for the legendaries, for Sun version, it's like a lion that has, like, he's designed almost to look like his mane almost looks like a sun. But the coolest part about the lion sun legendary Pokemon is his head. When it, like, at one point it zooms in on his head, and you can see, like, the star, like, it looks like the stars, like space, like in his forehead basically. And I think it's really cool. Like, he's a really cool design. And then the other design of the bat, it's like a bat that looks like the moon. Also a really cool design. Like, I don't have a problem with either of these legendaries. I think they look fine. But I'm not, like, we don't know what types they are. I don't know. Like, what I think having it be Sun and Moon is possibly a good indication that fairy and dark type, maybe. Like, the bat might be dark flying, and the lion might be fairy fire, maybe, because it's the sun. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see. One thing about the legendary for Sun version reminded me a lot of Entei, but that's probably because Entei is like a... I don't know. Is Entei a cat? Are those guys cats, dogs? You don't really know. But, yeah, he reminded me a little bit of that, but that's, it kind of makes sense. Like, so, there are going to be Pokemon that are similar. But the starters, I think, is the most interesting thing, because, so we know the types we only know what their initial stages are. I don't remember what the names of the Pokemon are, but one is an owl that is grass flying type. One is a sea lion that is water type, and just a kitten that is fire type. But the kitten is black and red, and maybe that means it'll eventually add a second type of dark. I don't know. But my one buddy, Gavin, he's been on the podcast before. At work today, he was talking about it, and what he mentioned, which I think would be probably the most likely scenario, is fly for the second types. So we have grass flying, then it would be water and ice, and then fire and fighting. Which we've had a lot of firefighting type before for starters, so that wouldn't be anything new. But I mean, the thing is so basically the question is, are they going to do the classic thing that they did in X and Y, where it's like, it was fire psychic, which fire is good against grass and psychic is good against fighting, and so they had grass fighting. Grass is good against water, fighting is good against dark, then they had water dark. So for this version, I don't know if they're going to do that same thing and make it so that whatever the water type Pokemon has for a secondary type is good against whatever the fire type Pokemon has for its secondary type. So if, like, I don't know if they're going to do that, which that classically makes sense with in terms of how they have done the Pokemon games, where it's like you have a rival and they pick the Pokemon that is good against your Pokemon, and it makes it so that you just have a harder time. Like, there's more of a challenge, right? You have to be your Pokemon has to be a higher level than them, because you can't beat them just based on type matching in terms of your starter versus their starter. But I think it's 4th or 5th generation, I don't know. Diamond and Pearl had a Turtwig, which was a turtle that was grass type, that eventually, I don't remember what the final types were, but basically the way that it was set up was that the penguin became water steel type, and steel is actually weak against, I don't remember what the other 2 types were, but whatever those 2 types were, steel was weak against both of them. So there has been times where they don't do the matchups in the way that they did in X and Y. So I don't know what their plan is, if they're going to do what they did in X and Y and make it so that it's matched appropriately, or if it doesn't matter anymore. Because in X and Y, you have like 5 people you travel with. It's no longer just one rival. So like, it doesn't really matter anymore if, in terms of the starters against each other, because you face off against both of them anyway, so it doesn't matter. But also the most interesting thing is only one of the starters has 2 types from the beginning. And there could also be a possibility that the owl that's grass and flying type, maybe it drops flying type and takes on a different type in its 2nd and 3rd evolution. I don't know. We don't know. Like, this is all the information we have so far. So, I don't know. There's lots of speculation we can do, but until we get a little bit closer, we won't know very much more. But what about you guys? Do you guys play Pokemon? I mean, am I just a 24-year-old guy that still plays Pokemon and I'm the only one? I doubt it. But yeah, are you guys looking forward? Did you even know Pokemon was still a thing, or that they were still making games? Yeah, I don't know. Do you care at all? Let me know. But I just want to quickly talk about, I went and saw Civil War over the weekend, so I'm going to quickly do a little bit. I'll tell you initially, without spoiling anything, my thoughts are basically, it's awesome. Like, in terms of the other MCU films, I would put it, so I know everybody's rankings are different. I would say Civil War, or Winter Soldier was my number 1, then probably Guardians, and then probably like the first Avengers, maybe. I don't know. But I know that this movie I like better than the first Avengers. It's real close with Guardians, but I think it's not quite as good as the Winter Soldier. I don't know. I have to see it again. That's the thing. I've only seen it once, so these are just my initial thoughts. I definitely recommend you watch it, especially if you've seen the other Marvel movies. This does such an incredible job of tying into all of the past movies. Well, not all of the past movies. It doesn't really have anything to do with Thor 1. But it does a good job of tying in all of the stuff we know, introducing new characters, and still being its own standalone movie. You don't have to have seen all the other Marvel movies to enjoy this one. But if you have, you get a way greater sense of satisfaction and understanding with this film, because, like I said, it has to do with, it's a perfect third in a trilogy of the Captain America trilogy. But Avengers: Age of Ultron and the first, like, both of the Avengers tie in, and like they do a really good job with it, and make you feel like it is. I don't know. Some people are complaining that it doesn't feel like it has dire consequences, but I disagree. I felt like it did have dire consequences, personally. But I don't know. I can't really say too much more without spoiling stuff, so that'll just be my thoughts. Go see it in the theaters. And if you don't go see movies in theaters, then this is still a movie you gotta see. Like, it's not just a spectacle, it's also an incredibly good story. So that's one thing that, yeah, I definitely recommend people go and see Captain America Civil War. So now it's spoiler time. So if you haven't seen the movie, this is the last topic anyway, so if you want, you can just shut it off. I understand. But if you have seen the movie, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And yeah, here we go. This is my spoiler review. First of all, Spider-Man was amazing. I think the way that they introduced him, like his first scene, plus the fight scene, I mean, we have barely seen anything from him, but my God, I love this Spider-Man. I think they did such a good job of capturing the Spider-Man that I grew up watching in the cartoons and reading in the comic books. That Spider-Man. Whereas Tobey Maguire did a good job of capturing the original Spider-Man from like 1960. And there was always something weird about Andrew Garfield. The first time I watched the Amazing Spider-Man 1, I hated it. The second time, it sort of grew on me, and it eventually got to a point where I kind of liked it a little more than the originals, just for the simple fact of it felt a little more like the character I knew, where he was a little more quippy. He had web shooters, but still, it didn't feel like the Spider-Man. Like he was, I don't know what it was, whether it's the fact that he's super handsome or what the problem was that I had with it, but it just never quite felt right. And then Amazing Spider-Man 2 was definitely not amazing. But this version of Spider-Man is Spider-Man. Like, this is the best version I think we've seen. Again, we have barely seen anything, but I cannot wait for Spider-Man Homecoming, even though that's a dumb title for a movie. Black Panther, holy fuck, man. Black Panther is what has been one of my most anticipated characters to see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since I saw the first Avengers. And there's, at the end of the first Avengers, when it's like they're like interviewing people, and like that's the Stan Lee cameo when he's like, superheroes in New York, bullshit. Like that whole section, there's a part where it shows a street vendor with some art. One of the pictures is clearly representative of Black Panther, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, Black Panther's coming to the MCU, and I couldn't wait, and it was fucking well worth the wait. This Black Panther, like, Marvel does a really good job of bringing comic book characters to screen, but I think the best one so far is Black Panther. From what I know about Black Panther, as soon as he started talking, not even in the suit, as soon as Chadwick Boseman started talking, I was like, wow. Wow. And it carries on, and he fights some in the suit, fights some out of the suit, like just everything about him, the way that they talk a little bit about the mythology of Wakanda and the Black Panther, how it gets passed on from father to son. So he's been the Black Panther for a while, which is something that's cool. I know his origin. I mean, lots of people don't, so I wouldn't be surprised if they talked a little bit about his origin in the Black Panther movie. But now, so originally, from what I know, in the comics, when whoever's the king of Wakanda is the Black Panther. So T'Challa's father, he was the king, he was also Black Panther, and then he was basically killed because of Ulysses Claw, at least in the iteration that I know of. He was killed by a plan brought forth by Ulysses Claw, who in the MCU is played by Andy Serkis. And so when he dies, that's when T'Challa becomes the Black Panther and is the new, basically the Black Panther is a tribe of Wakanda, and then there was also some other tribes. And in the version that I watched, which my introduction to Black Panther came with, I don't remember when the series came out, quite a while ago, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers series. And yeah, that's what happens in the Black Panther origin in that. or maybe it was just a Black Panther animated movie. I don't remember. But basically, that's what happens. Claw gets this other tribe where they're these like huge guys that dress in like ape costumes and stuff, and he helps that guy defeat T'Chaka. T'Challa takes up the mantle, comes back, defeats the apes and Claw, and reclaims the throne for his father. And so in that, whoever is the king of the Black Panthers is the Black Panther. But in this movie, his father was still the king of Wakanda, but no longer the Black Panther, because he clearly was not physically fit to be the Black Panther anymore. But so that's one thing that they've changed a little bit, but it's fine. It's not a huge thing. But yeah, for me personally, I think Black Panther was done incredibly well. They did such a good job of having it so that every character, like it felt like an Avengers movie in that every character got enough screen time, right? Like there was nobody where I was like I wish that we could have seen more Spider-Man, but he was in there the perfect amount for the story they told. But it was a Captain America movie. Like there's no point where you don't feel like it's a Captain America movie. The story is about Cap and Bucky the whole time. Like, yeah, it's also about Cap and Tony and whatever, but the main driving force for this entire movie is Bucky Barnes, and it's a fitting addition to the trilogy now of Captain America, where he was a major player in the first one, he was the main antagonist in the second one, and then now they finish up the trilogy in such a good way. This is now probably my favorite superhero trilogy of all time, because like I think The Dark Knight is a really well done movie, and it's pushed up to greatness because of Heath Ledger's Joker. Batman Begins, I think it's good. I don't think it's great. And then what? Batman The Dark Knight Rises. Jeez, I hate that goddamn movie. Just awful. But that's my opinion, and you might have a different opinion, but I think that, yeah, this is the best comic book movie trilogy of all time. Again, everyone will have their own opinion, but I just think they did such a good job of it. Like Iron Man trilogy, it doesn't feel like a trilogy. Like it's just 3 Iron Man movies, right? The Thor movies, so far, they don't feel like it. I mean, I guess they feel a little bit like it because of the Thor-Loki relationship, but it's almost like there's a trilogy called Thor, Avengers, Thor 2. Whereas Captain America, you could watch Captain America 1, 2, and 3 as a trilogy, and it would be good. But it still also feel like they do such a good job of bringing in the Avengers and bringing in Avengers 2, and then they have a call-out to Thor and the Hulk, and that's done well, where you notice their absence, but it doesn't matter because they do a good job of calling it out. If the U.S. military misplaced a nuclear warhead, they'd be asking some questions. Overall, I think this isn't the best movie in this Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it sure is damn close. I need to see it again to fully understand where I stand with this movie, because always the first time I see one of these movies, it's just the best thing ever, and I can't see any flaws. But then as time goes on, I watch it more, I see a few more flaws. And so overall, like I said before, go see this movie in theaters. It's amazing. But I don't know, I want to know your guys' thoughts. What do you think of the sequel to Captain America: The Winter Soldier? Do you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And thanks for checking us out on What Are We Talking About. That's going to be the end of the show. I just want to quickly plug a few things. Thanks to you guys, first of all, for watching. Like, if you didn't watch or listen, then who the fuck would listen or watch? You know what I'm saying? So if you want, you can get a hold of me. You can tweet at me. I also have Instagram and Snapchat, just at Winter Trooper. And then if you want, you could suggest topics for the show, or if you want to tweet at us at the show, you could either email us at whatwetalkingaboutoday@gmail.com, tweet at us at whatwetalking using hashtag WAWTA pod, like us on Facebook, comment on SoundCloud, rate us on iTunes, like, subscribe on YouTube, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Until next time, never stop standing up for what's right.